Good evening, everyone. And thanks, Bruce, Lynette, and Renee for getting this evening rolling. The first poem I'll read is from my 2020 collection, Who Has Time for This? This is the cover. And you can get this through the link in the chat. This first poem is written in the spirit of my translation mentor, the great Danish poet, Benny Andersen. Peace. Let me state the obvious. Increasing peace in your life increases peace in the world. Maybe not by much. But God doesn't appear to be biased against increments, considering the way time accumulates or disease. Make peace just as insidious. With a few surreptitious words or subtle deeds, keep placing straws upon that camel's back. Don't expect discord to just knuckle under. It has its own proponents. But at least you won't be giving them the run of the place. This next poem is written in honor of my friend Tom Clark, also known as Tommy Twilite, the co-founder of this group, the Florence Poet Society. Please take a bow, Tom, wherever you are out there. And thanks for your leadership of this motley group. This poem was published recently in the Tofu Inc. Arts Journal. So this is a new poem. Felling a tree with Tommy Twilite's poetry advice. For Tommy. This tree was even bigger than the one we'd brought down together. I was going to try and drop it in a gap on the woods to the left. But after tossing my throw bag up at a crotch 35 feet up about 20 times, I realized I had burned a hole through my glove with the friction from the string and burned a hole through the skin of my finger too. So I re-examined the prospect and decided the tree really wanted to fall to the right. The blood was minimal. I stood behind this 150-foot oak with the 12-foot circumference and the large black gouge at the base where carpenter ants had chewed their way in. And I thanked the oak for the air, for the shade, for the shelter, for all the tiny creatures, for the fungi, the lichen, and now for the wood, which will keep our house warm. I decided to make my mouth cuts higher than usual to guard against any surprises from the weakened trunk. As I leaned into the cut, I saw the metal gripping teeth next to the bar of the chainsaw was missing a screw and dangling. This was going to make my job harder, but I wasn't about to stop. I finished the first mouth cut about a third of the way in, just as I wanted. The second cut was harder, not having the leverage from the gripping teeth. The wedge-shaped void revealed the heart of the trunk, black and punky, even here 5 feet off the ground, channeled out by the ants. But I thought there'd be enough good wood around it for my hinge. Finally, I made the back cut, easing past the center of the trunk about 4 inches above my mouth cut until I heard a creak. The tree tipped forward about 5 degrees and I stepped back 5 steps. I stepped up and cut another inch and the tree tipped forward a couple more degrees and stopped. I looked up. A branch near the top on the side was leaning against a branch of a neighboring tree. Otherwise, the oak was aimed right in the direction I had planned. Cutting more of the hinge was risky. so I hoped for wind as I stood there. Then I decided to walk to my shed and grab my digging bar. Maybe I could pry into the space I had opened with my cuts and lever the tree past the offending branch. Considering the weight of the oak, I knew it was a long shot. As I walked back from my shed through the trees, the heavy iron bar on my shoulder, there was a swishing, a crashing, several booms, breaks, and a slam as the giant hit the earth. Call it luck, call it prayer, call it poetry. You should have been there. It was awesome. And then I have two short poems from my forthcoming book, Small Sovereign, coming out in October. This first poem was recently featured on gratefulness.org. The miracle. The miracle is not that the sun comes up, or that the earth spins around, or that the plants sprout and take up rain and flower and set seed, or that our hearts pound 5,000 times an hour. It's that we don't have to go out there with tethers to make the heavenly bodies move around correctly, or caress the ground and tease the stems upright and separate the petals, or tap our chests continually with little hammers. And we can put our attention elsewhere. And my final poem speaks to what we are doing tonight, to community, and how creativity belongs to all of us. Brainchild. I did this thing. It's the kind of thing people have thought about for ages. So I feel a bit embarrassed calling it mine. Actually, it's yours. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.